Hello everyone, this is Blank from PexSpot, and today we'll be bringing you another video. The main focus of today is Age of Empires. The game was first brought to us in 1997, and ever since it was getting better and better. The personal favorite of our group was Age 3 Asian Dynasties from 2007. Age can be typically described as a sandbox city builder with real-time strategy gameplay. You start off with 5 villagers, a small bundle of resources that kickstart your base from a hut to a grand empire. So the main focus is to expand your population of workers to advance to the next stage as soon as possible by gathering natural resources from the map. Once that is done, focus shifts into building an army and maintaining the flow of resources. Farms generate food or gold, plantations generate only gold, and trees are cut down for wood. So since we're on the topic of an army, let's talk about them. We have a few unit types. You have infantry that can be divided into ranged and melee, each having their unique role and time of use. You have cavalry that can be also divided into melee and ranged. Artillery that is mainly mid to long range units, mainly used to either shut down buildings and focus a specific type of unit like long range infantry or let's say artillery. And we have also ships that are used for naval battles, fishing and transport of units. Each nation has their own unique units that have a build limit and practical use, but be aware they are not meant to be used as cannon fodder, yet as a tactical advantage over the enemy. Which also means you can't just randomly put together an army and hope for the best. It's quite the opposite, you have to technically form your army from each respective group to effectively counter the enemy. For example, if the enemy uses cav, you won't send in archers or light infantry. You will use spearmen or musket units with bayonets. Another example is cav countering artillery and so on. Buildings, let's talk about those. We have supportive buildings that are houses, farms, plantations, arsenal. We have defensive buildings that are walls, outposts and forts. Offensive buildings that are barracks, artillery foundries and stables. There are also a few unique nation buildings that are auxiliary types and wonders. We have a total of 22 playable nations, starting from Europe, Asia, Africa and all the way to America. Each of them is racist, bloodthirsty and an instigator of war because the bots in the game will taunt you whenever they can. The most racist of all of these is Ottomans. Thankfully I don't play them as much as someone from our group. I play a totally pacifistic and friendly nation such as Japan, Russia and Mexico. With all seriousness, each nation is fairly balanced, unlike the French and Ottomans from the 2007 edition of the game, because those times were quite the ages of depression facing against those. And this is sadly but true, and it's coming from me, an aggressive bear. Since we are talking about a game, we gotta talk about the game updates also. They are quite frequent and consist of small and major ones. Small ones include bug fixes, server stabilization, slight tweaks on numbers regarding damage outputs, gathering rates, and mobility. There are also a few other ones, but let's not talk about those. The major updates brought us new nations, maps, and an overhaul of cards and units. There have been a ton of balance changes, standard units, outlaws and mercenaries, as well as water balance. The French Royal Army had enabled their musketeers and halberdiers to benefit from combat promotions, receive extra HP and damage for each defeated enemy. The Germans got a damage and health boost for the units in the royal house that lets them ally and also recruit and upgrade the units in the royal embassy. They can choose one of the allies that are Hanover, Habsburg, Oldenburg, Wettin and Wittelsbach. The Indians got a boost in their elephants, making them more resistant to damage, be it melee, ranged or siege damage. The Japanese got an option where their villagers and shrines could be turned into samurai guardians, the castle would be turned into ronins, and the wonders and town centers are replaced by ronin mercenaries. The Russians got a notable increase for the damage of their cavalry archers, starletas and halberdiers. The cavalry archers also inflict area damage in melee form as well now. The maps that came were Black Forest Arena, Black Forest, Forest of Nothing, Area Asian Steppe that is lost, and Area Asian Steppe that is survival. Since the release of Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition from 2020, it had issues with its server stability, bugs and such, but let's be honest, what game doesn't have it when it's freshly released? So with the following months and updates they fixed the game, making it more potato friendly and crisp, letting you enjoy it to some degree. The ranking system is, let's say good, maybe. You definitely won't be attacked at the 5th minute and lose 5 games in a row against a sweaty player that's abusing a certain nation like the Ottomans. Personally, I quite more prefer to play with my friends in a private game where you can go up to a few hours and enjoy the gameplay to the fullest instead of going to a ranked game and losing like straight away, because that's not fun, that's just plain torture at that point. I would rate the graphics of the game as an 8 out of 10. Don't get me wrong, it's good, but I'm more of an FPS and MMORPG type of player, so I'm used to realistic types of graphics instead of that of Age of Empires 3. However, for a game that is mostly focused on gameplay than the looks, it gets the job done. The graphics can be quite taxing if you put them on the highest setting and look amazing even on lower settings. All I have to say for the end that this is a game that you won't regret buying. This has been Blink, and I will see you funny people later. PexSpot out. You thought this was the end, didn't you, greasy ass bastard? Listen here, I will find.
Oh, Blank, stop! You're going off the script!
Magic! No! Magic!
Get the tranquilizer!
Ah!
We're online, ready to fire away. A digital breeze from cybernet seas. We may not make it out of the bay.